Listen, for the next 3 days, I want you to pay attention to one thing, the way you talk to yourself. Most people don't even realize it, but the loudest voice in their life isn't a critic, a boss, or a family member. It's the one in their own head. And if that voice is harsh, negative, or full of doubt, it doesn't matter how much motivation you hear from the outside, you'll always feel like you're running uphill. So here's the challenge. For 3 days, I want you to change the conversation you're having with yourself. When you wake up, instead of thinking, I'm tired, today's going to be hard, I want you to say, I've got enough in me to handle today, one step at a time. When you make a mistake, instead of saying, I'm such an idiot, I want you to say, okay, I messed up, but I'm learning. I don't have to be perfect. When you look in the mirror, instead of pointing out what's wrong, I want you to remind yourself, I'm growing. I'm stronger than I was yesterday. Because here's the truth, you believe what you repeat. And the words you choose aren't just words. They're training your mind. If you tell yourself you're not good enough, your brain will find proof of it. But if you tell yourself, I'm capable, I'm improving, I can figure this out, your brain will start finding proof of that too. Now, will it feel awkward at first? Absolutely. It's like learning a new language. But remember, negativity is also a language. You just got fluent in it because you've been practicing it for years. Encouragement works the same way. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. And the best part, you don't need a lifetime to notice a difference. Just give it 3 days. 3 days of speaking to yourself with respect, patience, and belief. You'll feel the shift. You'll notice a little more confidence, a little more calm, and a lot more clarity. Because the voice you hear most is your own. And if you can learn to make it your ally instead of your enemy, those 3 days can turn into 3 weeks, then 3 months, and eventually a whole new life. Your self-talk sets the tone for your day. The way you speak to yourself will either drain you or drive you. Every single morning when you wake up, the very first thoughts you allow into your mind are like the opening notes of a song. They set the rhythm, the beat, the atmosphere that will follow you throughout the hours ahead. If the first words you speak to yourself are heavy, negative, or self-critical, it's like starting your day carrying a backpack full of bricks. Everything will feel heavier, harder, slower. But if the first words you speak to yourself are encouraging, honest, and supportive, you'll notice that same weight lifting off your shoulders, and suddenly the same challenges don't seem impossible. They just seem manageable. Think about it. The conversations you have with yourself never stop. Even in silence, your mind is talking. That voice in your head is either your best coach or your worst enemy, and the choice belongs to you. When you wake up and say, today is going to be terrible, your brain starts scanning for proof to back that up. It notices the traffic, the workload, the mistakes. But when you start with, I can handle today one step at a time, your brain looks for reasons to believe that too. You might still face the same traffic or the same workload, but your response to it changes. And that changes everything. Most people underestimate how powerful their inner dialogue really is. They assume life just happens to them, but in reality, their inner words are quietly writing the script. The way you talk to yourself affects how you feel, how you act, and ultimately the results you get. If you're constantly draining yourself with thoughts like, I'm not good enough, or I'll never get it right, you've already set a ceiling on what you can achieve. But if you feed yourself with words like, I've handled hard things before, I can do it again, you start unlocking doors you once thought were locked. It doesn't mean lying to yourself or pretending everything is perfect. Positive self-talk isn't about ignoring reality. It's about choosing the most helpful truth in the moment. You can acknowledge that something is difficult without tearing yourself down. You can admit you're tired, but still remind yourself that you have enough to take one more step. Those little shifts in language turn survival into strength and strength into momentum. Your self-talk is like the thermostat of your life. It sets the temperature. If it's set too low with constant negativity, you'll find yourself cold, unmotivated, and stuck. But when you intentionally raise it with words of belief and encouragement, your entire environment starts to warm up. Energy flows differently. Opportunities feel closer. Hope feels real again. So when you think about your day, remember this. It begins and ends with your own voice. No one else's opinion matters as much as what you tell yourself in the quiet moments. If you want to feel driven instead of drained, start paying attention to those small sentences you whisper in your own mind. Change them, strengthen them, repeat them, because the story you tell yourself is the story you will live. And if you can learn to speak to yourself with the same kindness, belief, and respect you'd offer someone you love, you'll not only set the tone for your day, you'll set the direction for your entire life. You believe what you repeat, even if it feels strange at first. Repetition rewires your brain. The mind is a sponge and it absorbs whatever you pour into it most often. Think about how a song gets stuck in your head after hearing it a few times, even if you didn't like it at first. That same principle applies to the words you say to yourself. The more you repeat them, the deeper they sink until they become a part of you. If you constantly repeat, "I'm not good enough," eventually you don't just say it. You start to live like it's the truth. But when you repeatedly affirm, "I can handle this," even if it feels uncomfortable or fake at the beginning, your brain slowly begins to build new pathways that support that belief. At first it feels forced. You stand in the mirror and say something like, "I'm capable, I'm worthy, I can get through this." And a part of you immediately pushes back with, "No, you're not. You're lying to yourself." That resistance is normal. Your brain has been conditioned to believe the old narrative for so long that the new one feels like a foreign language. But just like learning any language, the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. One day you realize that the words don't feel awkward anymore, they feel familiar. And once they feel familiar, they start to feel true. Repetition is how the brain learns, it's how habits are formed, how skills are mastered, and how beliefs are shaped. A child learning to walk falls over and over again, but every step is reinforced by the silent repetition of trying again. Eventually, the body and brain sync and walking becomes automatic. The same happens with your self-talk. The first few times you say, "I'm confident," you might not believe it, but by the 100th time, it's not just something you say, it's something you know. The danger, though, is that this works both ways. Repetition of negativity is just as powerful. If every mistake is met with, "I'm so stupid," or every challenge is met with, "I'll never make it," then those phrases become etched into the framework of your brain. Your actions follow your beliefs, so eventually you stop trying because deep down you've convinced yourself there's no point. That's why it matters so much to take control of what you repeat, because your brain doesn't decide truth from lies. It simply believes what it hears most. That's the beauty and the responsibility. You have the power to train your own mind, but it requires persistence. You can't say it once and expect transformation. Just like going to the gym, strength comes with consistency. Every time you repeat a positive, truthful, life-giving phrase, it's like laying down another brick in the foundation of who you're becoming. Slowly but surely, the old negative walls begin to crumble and the new structure takes its place. So even if it feels strange, even if it feels fake, keep repeating the right words. Keep telling yourself you are strong, you are capable, you are enough. Because your brain is listening. And sooner than you think, it will start to believe you. And once it believes, your life will begin to rise to meet the level of your words. Small words create big shifts. Simple phrases like, "I can handle this," reshape how you face challenges. We often think it's the big motivational speeches, the grand moments of inspiration, or the life-changing events that transform us. But more often than not, it's the small words whispered to ourselves in ordinary moments that make the real difference. When you're sitting in traffic, when you're staring at a problem you don't know how to solve, or when you feel like the weight of life is too much, those are the times when the words you choose can either break you down or build you up. Think about how powerful something as small as a sentence can be. "I give up" closes the door on opportunity. "I can try again" cracks it back open. "I can't do this" creates a wall. "I can handle this" creates a path. Nothing about the situation changes, but everything about how you see it does. And that shift in perspective is often the deciding factor between staying stuck and moving forward. Words carry energy, and the ones you choose for yourself either drain that energy or recharge it. You don't need a perfect plan to keep going. You just need a handful of phrases that remind you of your strength in the moment. Imagine being in the middle of a stressful day and stopping just long enough to say, "one thing at a time." That tiny phrase suddenly makes the mountain ahead of you feel like a series of steps instead of an impossible climb. The beauty of small words is that they're easy to remember. You don't need to memorize complicated affirmations or write pages of encouragement. Sometimes all it takes is 3 or 4 words. To turn panic into calm, doubt into courage, or frustration into patience. When you say, "I've got this," even when you don't fully feel it, you're planting a seed in your mind. And seeds grow when they're repeated and nurtured. The problem is that we often underestimate these shifts because they seem too simple. We convince ourselves that real change has to be complicated, but the truth is most change starts with something small. A tiny adjustment in your inner dialogue can have ripple effects on your emotions, your choices, and your outcomes. Saying, "I'm learning" instead of "I failed" doesn't erase the mistake, but it changes your relationship with it.